Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency. Here going to provide you just a few brief updates on Tropical Storm Debby and what we've got going on. So our agency is at a level 1 activation, which is a full activation. We have all support functions in building and in response. We're actively monitoring Tropical Storm Debby's forecast and working with our federal, state, and local partners to determine the best steps for Georgia's response. We encourage everyone to prepare a ready kit and review communication plans with their families, and it's crucial that everyone pay attention to guidance from their local officials as well as you guys, our trusted sources for news. Governor Kemp issued a state of emergency yesterday for all 159 counties. The declaration makes state resources available to all local governments and entities with the storm's potential impact area. Further, it authorizes the Motor Carrier Compliance Division to allow those commercial vehicles providing resources and supplies to the affected area to bypass those weight inspections and those inspection centers. We're actively monitoring the weather. Obviously, as you would know, our state meteorologist here is on site. He's been providing us updates. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I was a couple minutes late was getting a fresh outlook. Tropical Storm Debby is expected to develop into Hurricane Debby tonight before it makes landfall. The core of the storm is expected to move into Valdosta tomorrow morning, with rain totals accumulating 10 to 15 inches along those lines, with heavy gusting winds at 40 to 50 miles per hour expected in central Georgia. Debby could stall along the Georgia coast on Wednesday, and that's a concern for us. It'll create a life-threatening historic rainfall event there in the area. Rainfall is expected to be around 20 inches in the area of Savannah, and locally possibly even more. If so, that will be a generational storm that we've not seen. They're calling it a 500 to 1,000-year storm, and so with that, we're extremely concerned about flooding. One concern we have is there's low confidence in the track beyond Tuesday, so the models are pretty precise as to what's going to happen up until Tuesday, but once we get to Tuesday, the system seems to stall just off the coast. If it stalls over the coast, then that's going to continue to bring more and more rainfall as it hits the Savannah area. It can't be emphasized enough how high the flooding risk is going to be for south and south central Georgia. We're going to see impacts in areas that traditionally flood. They're going to flood. In those areas that don't traditionally flood, we still are going to see those type of impacts. Just because the system isn't a hurricane doesn't mean that it's not going to be impactful. Some of our most impactful floods have been tropical storms and tropical depressions here in Georgia. Something that's extremely important because folks don't take the tropical storm name serious enough, the majority of tropical cyclone fatalities occur during floods as a result of tropical storms. What can we do? Take preparedness steps right now. If you're in a vulnerable housing situation, including those in low-lying areas or at-risk floodplains, you should consider moving. Get out of those areas as quickly as possible. Over the next coming days, we've got shelters that are going to be set up all over the state. Those will be identified by county. If you get into those areas and need assistance, those county governments can assist you with where those localities are. I would suggest getting to those before it's too late. Don't wait till you see water rising. Most folks know if they're in a floodplain area, so I would recommend you move on out of those areas. All of South Georgia should pay close attention to guidance from your local officials. Again, I can't thank you enough for being a trusted source for your community. And so I would encourage everyone to listen to their favorite meteorologist, listen to their favorite news outlet, listen to their favorite radio station, and make sure you're getting those up-to-date impacts on what's going on and where you can go. And finally, we remain poised and prepared. Governor Kemp has authorized us to have every state resource at our fingertips to respond as needed. We're here to help. We'll be monitoring 24 hours until the conclusion of the event, and we look forward to any questions you might have.
What are the impacts here in Atlanta that we could possibly see, and how are you guys doing response in our local area? I know it's mostly South Georgia, but
Yes, ma'am. So most of the response you're going to see is south central Georgia. Traditionally, with these, once they've formed, the eastern bands of these storms are predominantly where most of your damage comes from, where your tornado off-spin is, the majority of your rain. So we're going to be west of the impacted area. So we'll see some wind. It'll be nothing like what they're going to experience in South Georgia. We'll see some rain, nothing. We might see 1 inch, 2 inch of rain totals here. Nothing like that is going to be. But now on the eastern side of the eye, we're going to see a lot of damage. We're going to see flooding, but with that, the wet ground is going to lead to trees toppling. The winds are going to push over those trees on power lines, so I would anticipate a lot of power outages in South Georgia. I would also say that if you are in those areas, please know that we're going to get to you as fast as we can, but we can't put folks up in bucket trucks to restore power if the wind's still blowing. We can't get road crews out there to clear trees if there's still the chance of trees falling on them as they're clearing. So having a plan in place for 48 hours, maybe even up to 72 hours of response is going to be extremely important. One of the impacts we might see in this area is evacuations. So if folks are evacuating South Georgia coming northbound, we're going to see those crews, those roads filling up, hotels, motels, things of that nature, they're going to fill up a little quicker. So if you are planning on coming in the area, I would suggest that you make sure your travel plans are good. If you're flying, make sure that your plane's arrivals are going to be good, your departures are going to be good before you make it to the airport so you're not stuck there.
So it's going to affect travel, hotels here. You're going to see people from down south coming up here to stay in campers and you name it.
That's exactly right. We have opened up all state properties, so if you are evacuating the area and you are in a mobile motorhome or a travel trailer, we have those. All our state offices or state campsites are going to be open for everybody, so we will have those available.
You know, we go all the way down to Troup County and look at Meriwether. Are they going to get hit hard with flooding?
They're going to get a little bit of rain, but I don't think they're going to get near the rain we've seen in past events. This is more, if you kind of start in southwest Georgia, Seminole County, and draw a line maybe up through Valdosta, you come across that way. You kind of work the whole southwest. There's going to be about 70 counties in south and southeast Georgia that I think is going to be the most impacted. Everything north of maybe Macon, I think, was going to see that 1 to 2 inches of rain and some light wind. And then as far as north of Atlanta, I'm not sure they'll see any impact from it.
So we'll have people traveling here and flooding down there. Anything else we need to send out as a warning to people in the metro?
Metro Atlanta, just most likely our friends in the south are going to need our help. So at some point, I'm sure there will be opportunities to make donations. So we'll start working with our not-for-profits. We're very excited and proud of the relationships that we have with our not-for-profits. They help us recover homes and families, food, provide updates, as well as the sheltering. American Red Cross is a huge partner of ours that are going to assist us with the sheltering program. So those needs will arise. So for those in Metro, if you're not affected, we have a lot of friends and family in South Georgia, so we just want to make sure our thoughts and prayers are with them, as well as what we can do for them, as well as recovery and donations. We do have a lot of electric, our EMCs and our power. You'll see a lot of trucks on the road. We're starting to pre-position those. We've reached out to our federal partners. We have some federal assets that we're pre-positioning around the state as well.
You said you guys are going to be working around. What actually is the response in this building? What do you guys do here?
So, in our state operations center downstairs, we have members of 17 emergency support functions that are here. That ranges from housing to water, power, external affairs, getting out public messaging of what's going on. We have any state resource that you could think of that would be applicable. Agriculture. We have in our shelters. We also have companion shelters. So folks that have small animals that travel with them. We've got shelters set up through the Department of Agriculture. So we try to look at all things downstairs. We probably have 100 people downstairs right now that are actively working in some capacity from each state agency. We have public safety sector. We have a lot of private sector partners here. Again, I mentioned some of our not-for-profit partners that are here. So we take a holistic approach to a all hazards event, and so we try to stay in front of it as much as we can. Very good.
So people should stay on social media and stuff like that, just look at your guys' accounts and stuff like that, just to keep informed.
Absolutely. All our social medias are active. Our team is updating as often as we can. Every few hours, National Weather Service will provide an update. Our state meteorologist is constantly monitoring and putting out his thoughts on what's going on. And again, I mentioned you guys. You are trusted sources, so we appreciate the partnership, and we just ask that folks lean on their trusted partners. We have a great partnership with our Association of Broadcasters, and we're so appreciative of that. You help spread the message much more than we could by ourselves.
Jordan Cromer talks about Stephanie a little late. I'm sorry if it's a repeat. Just the mindset of you guys' approach to preparing for this one.
Yeah, so we understand that flood is a little different than wind. You know, a lot of times you see the impacts of wind immediately, but the flooding, this is going to be a unique flooding event where there's not going to be a whole lot of wind associated with it. We're going to see that ground up approach from the flood. Just going to be a lot of streets that can't handle 15 inches of rain over, you know, a 2-day period, especially on already saturated property there and ground in South Georgia. So our approach is we're going to be very aggressive in our response. We've already pre-positioned a lot of resources just outside the immediate area so that as soon as the winds die down or the rain stops, we can immediately respond. That's from power, water. As we all know, wastewater, water treatment facilities are particularly vulnerable to flooding because they're not designed to deal with those water levels. So we have a lot of those. Our Rural Water Authority is ready to go. And so we partner closely with any state agency that can provide a resource, and they're pre-positioning teams. Unfortunately, we even have to think about search and rescue. So we have a lot of search and rescue teams that are coming from all over the state that are pre-positioned in quick response locations so that they can get there and quickly begin to help those that might become stranded. I would just remind everybody if the road's underwater, turn around. It's not worth it. A lot of times it's not a matter of just how deep it is, but you can't see things that have been washed out as well. So if you've got culverts and things like that are missing and you drive off into those, it becomes a life-saving situation. So not only is the person in danger, but also those first responders that have to go out there and put their life at danger to save those that could have just turned around.
And comparing this event to responses in the past, is this an event that you believe is going to be like higher on the scale or mid-level of just like the manpower it would need?
I would say this is going to be an extremely manpower, hour heavy response. Water doesn't just dissipate quickly, especially to the levels we're looking at. So it's going to be a multi-day response, and I think that for us, getting out of there, being done with a response like this could be a multi-million-dollar event for the state of Georgia. If forecasts are accurate, the amount of water we're going to get, again, is that 500-year, 1,000-year flood level.
And just for residents who are in the impacted areas, what just the important messages you want to get out to them for them to know before this is?
There's nothing worth losing your life for. I understand that we have a lot of connection to our homes and things of value. All of those things are replaceable. You're not. I would say get out. Get you and your family out ahead of time. There's a lot of resources out there. Again, I go back to what I said earlier. Governor Kemp has given us the authority to utilize whatever resource we have available to get those folks safe. Whoever you are, we can help assist with transportation. Again, we're opening up shelters. I would say if you know you're in a vulnerable situation where you're in a low-lying level or your property is prone to flood, get out.
Even in the metro?
I wouldn't be so concerned here. I mean, we're I think 1 to 2 inches is not going to be a problem here. All right, thank you guys. And we hope to get this kind of on a repeat for tomorrow as well. We'll just update as we know stuff. Obviously, the track, if you are following it, it's changing all the time. So we're updating as much as we can.
What time is it expected right now and to hit
It's probably going to hit the state line, the eye. So we're going to start getting some outer bands overnight. The eye of the storm probably going to get to us somewhere around 10 a.m. tomorrow, maybe before noon, and then it will slowly work its way. That's the concern too, is that it's going to slow down.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
It's
gonna
forward
stall.
motion,
They were-
yeah.
it's
So it's
stalling.
currently moving at 13, 14 miles per hour. Once it gets over land, it's kind of predicted to drop to that 5 to 6 mile per hour movement. So it's going to slow crawl, and it's just going to keep raining the whole time.
Thank you
All right,
so
thank
much.
y'all.
If you wouldn't mind too, just for me, give your name and title, please.
Yes, it's Chris Stallings. I'm the director of the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would it be possible for us to get video downstairs at the like center, like people working?
Not today, because as we're trying, so there's not a lot of activity that you're going to see. Everybody's in their room.
That's
Or
all.
in-